Survival horror fans rejoice! The long-awaited total remake of one of the most iconic PS1 spookfests ever made is finally upon us, and oh boy, is it good!
What was that?
Hi there, my name is Japik, and today I'm gonna guide you on a little journey through all the reasons that the Resident Evil 2 remake is the best thing. Definitively, objectively. If you disagree with me, you're wrong, and I hate you. This isn't so much a review as it is me gushing about how much I like this game. Be warned, sailors, I'm going to try and keep this video reasonably spoiler-free, but this is a horror game, and even small visual spoilers might ruin your fun. You saw the title, you've seen the reviews, go play this freaking game, then come back and like the video and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Are you back? Okay then, let's begin. It's a dark night on the outskirts of Raccoon City. Leon Scott Kennedy, an idealistic rookie cop who hasn't spent a single day in the field, stops for gas by the side of a lonely road. And what he finds, he'll never forget. Undead monsters who were once regular men, feasting upon their brethren with no remorse, no semblance of humanity left in them. It's there that fate demands he meets Claire Redfield, a college student out searching for her brother, Chris. Together, they journey into the ruinous, zombie-infested nightmare that is Raccoon City, where they uncover dark and terrible secrets while surviving the ravenous horde. The plot of Resident Evil 2 certainly upped the ante from its predecessor, whilst also dramatically improving the quality. Resident Evil 1 had a cheesy, poorly written, and poorly translated plot that basically met the bare minimum requirements for the game to be considered narratively driven.
Hey! Come here!
Joseph!
Its unintentionally hilarious acting and presentation is still being memed upon to this day.
Chris? Stop it. Wesker, you're pitiful.
But the first Resident Evil did a lot right in the way its labyrinth-like level was constructed in a masterful way, and how the atmosphere, at least when the cutscenes weren't playing, produced genuine horror by tasking the player with carefully managing scarce resources and maneuvering around tough zombies that were not to be taken lightly. Boom, instant classic, and a monumentally influential game in the horror genre. A sequel was an obvious necessity for Capcom, and boy, they delivered. The gameplay and horror was a lot more defined, but even better, there was an actually appealing story that went along with it. I say all this to lead to my discovery that while Resident Evil 2's original story was just fine for what it was, the remake improves it in ways you probably wouldn't even consider. It adds context where it was lacking, it adds emotion where there was melodrama, it adds horror where there was cheese, and it subverts expectations where old fans were expecting similarity. The sheer quality of the structure of the plot and the way it's told genuinely surprised me, but I suppose it shouldn't have. Resident Evil 7 went to pretty great lengths to try and declutter the Resi mythos and bring it back to its roots. It didn't fully succeed, but whatever. Hindsight is 20/20, and when given the opportunity to improve the narrative of a 21-year-old PlayStation game with AAA budget, improvements will be made. These improvements vastly extend into the gameplay as well. Looking at a direct comparison between the original and remake, you can see the differences aren't exactly subtle. I had never played Resident Evil 2 before the remake, but I went back and did so on my PS3 just to see the changes for myself, and I can tell you this isn't just a slapdash recreation, this is a striking reimagining from the ground up. The biggest difference in the moment-to-moment gameplay is definitely the perspective, shifting from slow, clunky tank controls and cameras stapled to the ceiling to slick, modern third-person shooting. But this doesn't change its identity as much as you would think. People have argued that the clunky controls in the original game served to add horror and heighten the skill ceiling. Learning how to bob and weave effectively around enemies was a crucial part of the experience. While I would personally be fine if the game controlled like the originals, I think I'm a little bit more fine with how they made the game feel good to play without greatly sacrificing the challenge. This has a lot to do with the common enemies, slow-moving zombies, that should have stopped being scary about 7 years ago, but somehow are so wonderfully designed that they managed to terrify me again and again throughout my playthrough. This is because they're powerful, hard to kill, unpredictable, and require a large strain on your scant resources if you want to remove them from your path. These guys are still pretty hard to get around, even with the control change, and your inaccurate starting pistol does little to harm them, even with well-placed headshots. If and when they go down, there's a pretty good chance that unless you manage to blow up their head completely, they're going to get up again. But you're not exactly sure when. It could be almost immediately, or it could be later when you're running through that area again on your way to find a key when you least expect it. Also, killing every zombie you come across isn't a great idea when you should be saving ammo and healing items for the future, so a pretty good tactic for dealing with them is shooting them in the head to stun them and then running past, which means you'll probably have to deal with them again later. It's the classic Resident Evil survival horror formula through and through, which proves that terrible controls aren't integral to tension. You'll be doing a lot of running back and forth in the main police station, which is just how it should be, and things are constantly kept interesting by introducing scarier enemies to old areas and giving you access to new ones. Old fans will no doubt appreciate, or maybe be unsettled by, the fact that item placements, puzzles, and some of the level design have been switched up to make things even more tense. But there's one thing that's the absolute icing on the cake. Mr. X is absolutely terrifying. One of the most heart attack-inducing experiences in video gaming was when I first encountered him in Leon's campaign and realized that he wouldn't stop following me. The man just does not stop. He's completely intent on absolutely wrecking you no matter how long it takes with his friggin' power walk. It's insane. The way you hear his heavy footsteps from a long way off would strike fear into the heart of anybody. He drove me to cower in fear one of the safe rooms for several minutes while I tried to work up the courage to walk out of the door and possibly face him. Normal enemies are constrained at least in part by geography, but Mr. X seems to transcend the laws of reality itself to telepathically determine your location just to friggin' come up and punch you in the face. And it's freaking... it's terrifying. It's the unpredictable and somewhat random behavior of the enemies, Mr. X in particular, that will no doubt keep me playing this game over and over. It makes every encounter feel fresh and exciting as you plot your route through the station, and it's exactly the reason I played the original remake of Resident Evil so many times. The extra costumes, unlockable weapons, difficulty modes, and 2 campaigns with plenty of differences between them, with 2 playable characters, also serve to make this game a wellspring of replayability. Furthermore, Resi 2 is great because it's a return to the classic survival horror genre, and a rebuttal of the common argument forced upon us by corporations that there isn't a market for stuff like this anymore, that all we really want is action games and first-person shooters. It has all of the polish of Capcom's modern engine, but with the design sensibilities and passion seemingly lost in the genre by AAA companies until recently. I mean, Resident Evil 7 was all that too, but this is even better. It's for these reasons and more that I bestow upon Resident Evil 2 the prestigious title of the best thing. The wheel? Are you kidding me? Vaccines? Nah. The internet? Psh. Step aside all technological and societal innovations throughout history because Resident Evil is here to stay. Good job, Capcom. It only took you frickin' 17 years! Alright. My name is Javik, and I hope we meet again. Go buy this game. It's really good. Really fun. Really good horror game. Yeah. Bye. Bye.